You wake up coughing so hard it feels like your ribs might crack. And it's not from sickness, but from the powdered earth invading your lungs again. Your mouth is dry as chalk, your tongue like sandpaper, and your teeth crunch with grit that shouldn't be there. You blink, but it makes no difference. The room is pitch black even though it's well past sunrise, because outside your window, the world has been swallowed by a wall of dirt. Every surface is coated in fine, suffocating dust. Your bedsheets are stiff, your clothes are stiff, even your eyelashes feel stiff. You wipe your eyes, and it's like rubbing them with ground glass. The air smells like scorched metal and rotten grain, like something is burning miles away. Only it's not fire. It's the slow rot of a dying world. You try to sit up, but the weight of dread presses you back down. Through the window, you hear a low, far-off groan, like the sky is growling. And you know what's coming, another black blizzard. Your father is already up, staring blankly out the doorframe, his face stained gray with dust, his eyes ringed with despair. He doesn't speak. There's nothing left to say. You grab a scarf, wet it from the barely working tap, and wrap it around your face, but it's a formality now, like pretending to put on armor in the middle of a firing squad. Breakfast is the same: powdered milk, stale bread, eggs if the chickens survive the night. But today, there's only silence from a coop. Dead again. Everything is dying again. You remember when the land was green, before the tractors came and tore it all up like a butcher gutting the earth. Now, the land is angry, and it's choking you with the pieces of its broken body. You step outside and instantly regret it. A gust of wind slams into you, carrying thousands of tiny knives. Your skin prickles, your eyes sting, your throat clenches. In the distance, a black wall is moving toward you like a tsunami made of ash. You run back inside, slam the door, push wet rags under the cracks. But it won't matter. It always gets in. It seeps in through the smallest pores of the house, settling on your food, your lungs, your soul. And when the storm finally hits, it feels like the house is being buried alive. You hear nails creak, glass rattle, the low moan of a dying world. The lights flicker. The baby starts to scream. Your mother is praying in a whisper, holding her rosary like a weapon against something far worse than sin. You sit there, frozen, as the air turns solid. You can't see. You can't breathe. You can't scream. You just wait for the dust to settle, for the storm to pass, for something to give. But it never does, because here in the Dust Bowl, the storm never ends. It just changes direction. It starts with a silence, so thick it feels like the earth is holding its breath. And then, from the distant edge of the horizon, you see it, a churning black mass taller than any building you've ever imagined, tumbling toward you like the end of the world wrapped in wind. It's not just a dust storm. It's a living thing, a beast of earth and wind, roaring across the prairie with an insatiable hunger that devours towns, farms, livestock, and lungs. You try to warn the others, but no one listens anymore. Everyone already knows, and they're too tired to care. The storm advances like a funeral procession gone mad, blotting out the sun, turning day to night in a matter of seconds. And the wind hits with a sound like 1,000 hammers pounding nails into your coffin. You feel the pressure change in your ears. Then the hiss of air becomes a scream as the dust reaches your home and slams against it with a force so violent you're sure the windows will shatter. Inside, everything goes dark, not the kind of dark you can see through. This is a suffocating blindness, thick and grainy, as if the dust has crawled inside your eyes and wrapped its fingers around your skull. You clutch a wet rag to your mouth, but the grit gets in anyway, grinding against your teeth, coating your throat, making every breath a desperate gamble. The house groans like a wounded animal. Dust sifts through every seam, piling up inside like snow, but with the warmth and mercy stripped away. You hear your younger brother coughing, then gagging, and then vomiting up nothing but mucus and dirt. The baby is still crying. Somehow, and your mother is trying to rock her back to sleep, though her own eyes are hollow and cracked with dust. The kitchen smells like stale flour and wet mold, and even that is better than the scent from outside. Scorched dirt, dead crops, and something deeper, more primal, like the earth itself is rotting from the inside out. The temperature drops sharply, then spikes again, and you realize your body is shaking uncontrollably, not from cold, but from a kind of primitive fear that makes your bones feel brittle. You try to tell yourself it'll pass, that storms always do, but that was before this one. This one doesn't stop. It grinds on for hours, then days. You lose track of time. The clocks are meaningless when the sun never returns. The only rhythm you know now is the howl of the wind and the coughs of the dying. You can't remember what green looks like. You can't remember what silence sounds like. And then, in a moment that's somehow worse than the storm itself, the wind stops. Not fades, stops. Dead quiet. You don't cheer. No one does. Because you know what comes next. You brush a thick layer of dirt off your arms, peel dust from your lips, and crack the door open. The sky is a bruised orange. The world outside is unrecognizable. Fence posts have disappeared. Trees stand like skeletons. Your neighbor's house is half gone. The rest is buried in a dune of topsoil. A horse lies on its side, legs rigid, eyes crusted shut. A child's shoe pokes out from the earth like a forgotten artifact. And as the silence stretches on, you realize the storm didn't pass. It paused. It's still out there, waiting, hungry. And when it comes back, and it will come back, you'll be weaker, your house frilier, your lungs more fragile. This isn't weather. This is war. And every grain of dust is a bullet aimed at your survival. The dust isn't just outside anymore. It's inside you, deep down, fused into your tissue like a parasite you can't cough up, a curse you can't pray away. Every breath you take drags it deeper, until your chest feels packed with cement, your sinuses raw and bleeding, your lips split so wide it hurts to drink, but you try anyway, sipping boiled rainwater tainted with rust from a barrel that hasn't seen a clean day in years. You think of the word pneumonia and how the doctor down the road called it dust pneumonia now, a slow-motion suffocation that swells your lungs with fluid and kills you over weeks. But there's no hospital bed waiting, only a wooden cot, a fevered sweat, and eventually a shallow grave dug into soil, so dry it cracks like broken pottery. You're coughing more these days. So is your mother. The baby wheezes every night, her tiny chest rising like it's being crushed under invisible weight. You remember when people used to say the dirt gave life. Now it takes it, one shallow inhale at a time. You walk outside for chores, because pretending to keep a routine keeps you from screaming, and the first thing you do is tie a rag over your face again. Not that it helps. The dust clings to your skin, seeps into your pores, gets in your ears, under your nails, between your toes. You rub your eyes and smear black grime across your face. You spit, and it's brown. You blow your nose, and it's like clay. You dig into the chicken coop. 3 more dead. Eyes glazed, feathers dirty, beaks full of soil like they try to peck their way out and choke before they made it. You used to be clean. Not fancy, just clean. Now your bath water is reused 3 times, and by the end it's a tepid, muddy soup. You scrub at the stains in your armpits, your scalp, your teeth, but they don't come out. They never come out. The radio crackles inside with the voice of some politician saying relief is coming, but you don't believe him. How could you? Relief isn't strong enough to stop the sky from collapsing. The towns around you are hollowing out. Neighbors leaving in the dead of night, abandoning their farms to the wind and the ghosts that gather in the dust like vultures. The preacher says it's the wrath of God. Your father says it's bad luck. Your mother says nothing anymore. And you start to wonder if it's not just in your lungs but in your brain, because some nights you swear you can hear the dust whispering as it creeps in through the cracks, telling you things, hungry things, bitter things that keep you from sleeping. You keep coughing. Your chest aches. Your gums bleed. And as you lie down that night, staring into the darkness while dust falls softly like ash over your blanket, You realize this isn't just a storm. It's an infection, and it's already inside you. The fields used to be golden, stretching like oceans of promise, your father said. Wheat high as your waist, corn whispering in the breeze. But now they're flat, dry graveyards where nothing grows but memories and regret. The topsoil gone with the wind, literally ripped from the earth and hurled into the sky like a funeral pyre for the American dream. And what's left behind isn't farmland. It's a cracked, brittle wasteland that crunches under your boots like broken teeth. You kneel to feel the ground, and it crumbles in your hand, fine and dead. No moisture, no life, just dust, always dust. The seeds you plant don't sprout anymore. They just bake in the ground like shriveled promises. And even if something does manage to push through the cursed soil, a storm comes and rips it out by the roots before it has a chance to live. You've watched your father dig with bare hands in the blistering heat, planting anyway, sweating and praying and whispering to the dirt like it's a child he's trying to coax back to life, but the dirt doesn't care. It doesn't answer. It doesn't give. It just takes. The barn is half empty now, equipment rusting, animals dead or gone. You remember the cow that gave milk. She lay down last month and never got back up. Your father didn't bury her. He just dragged the carcass out to the edge of the property and let the wind decide what to do with her bones. Some families are eating tumbleweeds. Others boil dandelion roots and call it soup. You try not to think about the fact that your dinner came from a government that smelled slightly of mold and tin, or that your water tasted like metal and desperation. Your neighbor shot his dog because it drank from the last clean barrel. A week later, he left town, left everything, didn't say goodbye, just vanished into the haze, and no one blames him. Your brother tried to grow a tomato in a wooden box by the window, watering it with spit and melted ice chips, but it withered before it ever flowered. That night, he cried until he fell asleep. The next day, he didn't speak. The day after that, he coughed blood. You're surrounded by fields, but there's nothing to harvest but death. Dust devils whirl across the land like playful demons, mocking your hope. And even the scarecrow has slumped over, coated in ash, its stitched mouth turned down like it's mourning something it can't name. And the worst part? No one comes. No one helps. You're screaming into a wind that doesn't care, praying to a sky that won't listen. You stand in the middle of what used to be your family's pride. This land, this soil, and all you feel is betrayal. The earth has turned on you, and it's winning. And deep down, you know the land will outlast you. Long after your bones turn to the very dust that's choking the last harvest out of everything you love. You finally decide to leave. Not out of hope, but out of surrender, because staying here is like trying to breathe underwater, and at least dying on the road sounds better than dying buried in your own living room. So you pack what little isn't already covered in dust, a few tins of beans, a threadbare blanket, one photograph from before the sky turned black, and your family's last working lantern, its light barely a flicker now. You cover your face with a rag soaked in vinegar and water, a trick you heard from someone who's probably already dead, and step out into the wind. Immediately, the world attacks. The air slams into your body like a punch to the chest, the dust burning your eyes, clawing at your skin, slipping through the cloth like it's laughing at your effort. You can't see more than 5 feet ahead. You hold your mother's hand, then your brother's, and feel the thin bones beneath their skin, like they're already ghosts. The road has vanished, eaten by the storm. It's not a path anymore. It's a memory. You walk anyway, boots sinking into drifts of dirt like snow, except it's hot, dry, and full of insect corpses. The wind screams around you, a howling banshee that never rests, never stops, never lets you think. It blasts the breath from your lungs and replaces it with poison, tiny razors of soil and rock that slice your throat with every inhale. Your chest burns, your head spins, your legs tremble. You stop to rest, but there's no rest here, just more dust, more wind, more silent screams. Somewhere behind you, your brother collapses. Your mother tries to lift him, but her hands are shaking too badly. You hear her whisper, "Get up, please," over and over, but the boy doesn't move. He's breathing, barely, but his lips are dry and purple. You pour the last drops of water into his mouth, but they trickle out the corner like he's already given up. You don't even know where you're going. Town? Train tracks? A fabled Red Cross truck you once heard about on the radio? You could be walking in circles and never know. The storm is too thick, the land too flat, the sky completely gone. It's like moving through a nightmare made of smoke and teeth. You start to panic, not the loud kind, the slow, sinking kind that creeps in your gut like a cold hand. And for a moment, you understand why some people just lie down in the dirt and stop fighting. Because this isn't living. It's erasure. Your skin feels blistered, your mouth is full of blood and soil, and your feet are raw inside your boots. The wind never stops screaming. It doesn't stop for your cries, for your mother's prayers, for your brother's stillness. It doesn't even stop for the dying. And as you kneel beside the road that may or may not be real, watching everything you love fade into the storm, you realize the truth. You can run all you want, but out here, in this world ruled by dust, you will never escape. You'll never outrun the sky. You'll never breathe again without it tasting like earth and despair. You're already a part of the storm, and it's not done with you yet. You pass through a town that looks like it died weeks before anyone noticed. Houses slumped and warped like they're trying to collapse into themselves, storefronts with shattered windows, half covered in boards and desperation. And people, if you can even call them that anymore. The children stare first, eyes too large and thin, dirt-smeared faces, mouths tight, as if smiling takes more energy than they can afford. They're barefoot, skin cracked, clothes hanging off them like scarecrow rags. Their movements sluggish, slow, drained of the wildness you once knew as childhood. They don't speak. They don't laugh. They just watch you pass like ghosts clinging to the last threads of flesh. You see a girl no older than 8, holding the stiff body of a cat in her arms like it's still alive, rocking it, stroking it, whispering lullabies to a corpse with a missing eye and stiffened limbs. No one tells her to stop. No one has the heart. You find animals curled up in doorways, too weak to run, too thin to slaughter, ribs sharp under patchy fur like rusted wire. Chickens peck weakly at the dirt, hoping for bugs that died seasons ago. You pass a yard where a dog drags itself toward a dry bowl, tongue blackened, eyes glazed, then collapses before it gets there. Its owner watches from the porch, unmoving. You look closer and realize he's not asleep, just emptied like everything else. Someone offers you a biscuit made of flour and lard, but you can't bring yourself to eat it. Your stomach hurts too much from going without. You'd vomit if you tried. And still, you thank them because there's a strange code out here. One that says you pretend. Pretend that food helps. Pretend the storm will stop. Pretend the government will send trucks. Pretend the red welts around that boy's mouth aren't from drinking alkali-tainted water. The schoolhouse stands barely, its windows boarded, desks piled against the back wall. They try to keep lessons going at first, writing the alphabet on soot-covered chalkboards, teaching history while the present tore itself apart outside. But eventually, the teachers stopped showing up. The kids just sat there anyway, out of habit, in silence, as if the structure of a classroom could hold back starvation. You peek through the window and see the outline of a desk with a small teddy bear slumped across it, half buried in silt. Someone wrote their name on the wall in chalk. It's smudged beyond recognition. You keep moving. You pass a well where someone's hung a sign that reads "Don't drink, water's dead." You pass a church with a broken bell and a message scrawled in dust on the door. God left a long time ago. No one talks about leaving anymore. Those who tried are mostly gone or came back sicker than before. The lucky ones died somewhere with their eyes closed. The unlucky ones are still here, still watching, hollow and patient, as though waiting for the land to swallow them whole. And in the quiet between wind gusts, you hear it again, not the howling, but something softer. Murmurs, whispers in the grit, the sound of things not born of this world. And you begin to wonder in this place of starving children and animals too tired to die. What if something else is feeding? What if something is watching through the storms, behind the dust, counting down the bodies? The girl with the cat finally looks away. Her eyes don't blink. And for the first time, you feel truly cold, but it's not a sickness you can point at. Not like the flu that used to burn through towns with fever and sweat and sorrow, but it spreads just the same, seeping into skin and minds, curling like mold in the corners of your thoughts. And before long you realize that it's not just your lungs failing, it's your will. People don't scream anymore when they lose everything. They don't sob when a child stops breathing or when a brother disappears into a dust drift and never comes out. Instead, there's this dull, quiet resignation, like they've already buried themselves and are just waiting for the dirt to catch up. You see in the way your mother doesn't comb her hair anymore, in the way your neighbor boards up his windows from the inside, like he's preparing for his own funeral. Even you feel it, the creeping numbness behind your eyes, the slowing of your heartbeat, not from illness, but from surrender. It's in the little things. You stop brushing the dust off your blanket. You stop boiling the water. You stop tying the rag around your mouth. Because what's the point? The doctor in town stopped coming around after his own daughter coughed herself bloody one night, and he couldn't save her. He just closed his practice, left a note that read, "Not a doctor anymore," and walked into a storm barefoot. No one went after him. He wasn't the first. He wasn't the last. They call it dust madness in whispers, like naming it makes it more controllable. But it isn't madness, not really. It's clarity. It's the soul realizing the body is no longer worth the fight. You've heard stories. Men who wake up screaming because the storm is inside their dreams. Women who swear they hear voices under the floorboards. Children who dig holes in the yard and say they're looking for the sun. You used to think they were losing their minds. Now, you're not so sure. Maybe the wind does speak. Maybe the dust does remember. You cough again, dry, sharp, painful, and something rattles loose in your throat. It tastes like blood and rust. You don't even flinch anymore. You wipe it on your sleeve, which is already stiff with layers of dirt, sweat, and resignation. You try to sleep, but there's always the sound, the distant, rhythmic roar of the storm returning, or maybe it never left. Maybe it's inside the walls now, gnawing at the beams, at your sanity. The windows pulse with pressure. The floor vibrates. You cover your ears, but it doesn't help because the sound is inside you. That night, you dream you're breathing clean air again, and when you wake up gasping, it's like punishment. You glance over at your younger brother. He's awake too, eyes wide, lips cracked. He asks you if people can drown in dust. You don't answer. You don't know. You only know that whatever this is, this hunger in the sky, this sickness in your soul, it's spreading. And it's not going to stop until there's nothing left of you but bones in a house no one remembers, under a sky that hasn't shown its face in years. You wake, but you're not sure it's morning. There's no light, no shift in the blackness outside the window, no warmth pushing against the icy film of night. And for a moment you think you've gone blind, until you strike a match and the flame stutters against the air like it's struggling to stay alive in a world that no longer wants it. The match fizzles, the darkness swallows it whole, and still the sun does not come. You wait, you listen, but the world outside remains still. No birds, no wind, not even the distant groan of shifting boards or settling dust. Just a silence, so deep it hums in your teeth. Your mother stands in the doorway with a candle, her face gray and hollow, and says only one thing. It's not coming today. You step outside, and it's like stepping into a void, thick, black, airless, like the dust has decided to stop pretending to be a storm and has become something worse, a blanket of death. It covers everything. Fences, wagons, even the trees look suffocated, their limbs reaching out like they're trying to claw their way free. You stumble forward, holding your breath, lantern in hand, and it barely cuts through the murk. You've never seen the world without light before. Even at night, the stars used to offer some comfort. Now, there's only the weight of the dark. Neighbors whisper of omens, of divine punishment, of the end. But what scares you most isn't the superstition. It's how real it all feels. This isn't a cloudy day. This isn't a passing storm. This is something else. You see a shape ahead and call out, but it doesn't answer. You approach, heart pounding, only to find a horse collapsed mid-stride, coated in dust so thick it looks sculpted from stone. Its eyes are gone. Eaten. You reel back. The smell hits you late, sour, rotten wet. How could anything rot in a place this dry? You look up and the sky seems lower, heavier, pressing down like a coffin lid. You're sure of it now. The sun hasn't risen. Maybe it can't. Maybe it's been swallowed whole. You head back, stumbling over the earth that no longer feels real. And as you open the door to your house, you find your brother lighting every candle in the room, trying to push back the dark with small flickers. He asks if this is what dying feels like. You can't answer. You don't know. The wind begins again. Not loud this time, not wild, but slow, steady, deliberate like breath over your shoulder. And just as you turn to listen, you hear something impossible. Footsteps in the dust, where no one should be walking. No one could be walking. Not in this. The silence after is worse than the sound itself. You stand there, holding your breath, clutching a matchstick like it's a weapon. And in that moment, you realize the truth. This isn't a storm anymore. This is a presence. Something old. Something waiting. And it doesn't need the sun to see you. You wake in the middle of the night, throat raw, mouth full of grit, and when you sit up, your bed sheets puff dust into the air like you've been sleeping in an urn. It clings to your skin, your lashes, your lips, coating the insides of your nose so thickly you can barely breathe without gagging. And it's not just dust now, it's ash, the kind that smells faintly of burnt wood and something else, something wrong, something that makes the hairs on your neck stand up like they're listening. The house creaks, but not from the wind. This sound is slower, wetter, like wood being chewed from the inside, like beams splitting under invisible weight. You hear it again, the whispers. They come from behind the walls, from inside the crawl space, from the vents, curling out in long, broken syllables that never quite form words, but feel unmistakably directed at you. You try to tell yourself it's just the house settling, that it's the wind slipping through cracks and rattling old nails, but you know better. The voice sounds too close, too wet, like breath on glass. You press your ear to the wall and hear what sounds like fingernails dragging through dirt, and then, unmistakably, a knock. Just one, then silence. You pull away, heart hammering, and realize your hands are trembling. The dust on the floor has patterns in it now. Circles, spirals, something childlike but wrong, like a game drawn by something that doesn't understand how humans play. You call for your mother, but no answer. Your brother? Gone from his bed, his sheets twisted into shapes that suggest he didn't leave willingly. You search the house, the lantern flickering, casting long shadows that feel like they're breathing, and when you open the basement door, the wind stops. Completely. No creaking, no howling, just stillness. A stillness so total it feels like the air has thickened into syrup. You descend the stairs anyway, because what else can you do? At the bottom, there are footprints, small, barefoot, too many to count, leading into the far corner where the dust is piled so high it looks like snowdrifts. But here's the worst part. They don't lead out. You back away slowly, and the whispers rise again, louder now, urgent, almost pleading, and behind you upstairs the door slams shut. You run back up and fling it open. Nothing's there. Just more dust, more ash, more silence. Your mother is in the hallway now, staring at the window, eyes wide, mouth slightly open. You ask what she's looking at, but she only whispers, "It's watching." You turn and see nothing but the black outside. But then a flicker, a shape, a figure. There, standing at the edge of the yard where the dust swirls like a hungry sea, motionless. You blink and it's gone. But the window pane bears a single handprint. Not yours, not your brother's. Something smaller, thinner. The whispers begin again, crawling under your skin now, wriggling into your ears, down your throat, and as you sink to the floor covering your head, rocking, praying, you realize this isn't just a house buried in dirt. It's a grave, and you never left the Dust Bowl. The Dust Bowl came inside, and it's learning how to speak that you've stopped counting the days. Time doesn't work here. Not when the sky hasn't turned blue in weeks. Not when the clocks have choked on grit and the calendar curls from damp corners and heatless air. Your face is different now. Sharper, hollower, dust permanently etched into your skin like bruises from the inside out. And when you catch your reflection in a cracked bit of mirror, you barely recognize yourself. Your eyes look sunken, not just from hunger, but from something deeper, something spiritual that's been scraped clean. And still, the dust falls. Every hour, every breath. It's inside your mouth, your ears, your belly. You eat it in your sleep. You dream of it swallowing the world. And when you wake, your fingernails are black and packed with it. The town is quieter now. People speak less. They've started writing messages on walls instead. Strange phrases like "we've been chosen." The land is listening, and it remembers. You want to laugh, but your throat is too dry. You want to cry, but your body can't waste the water. The dust isn't just dirt anymore. It's something else. It thinks. It learns. You've seen it move against the wind. You've seen it swirl into shapes you can't unsee. Last night, the preacher nailed shut the church doors and carved symbols into the wood, whispering that it's beneath us now. Your neighbor tried to dig a tunnel under his floor to escape, but they found him suffocated, mouth stuffed full of dirt like the earth had swallowed him headfirst. You tried to leave once, days ago, or maybe weeks, but the road vanished. Maps don't matter anymore. Directions are just ideas now, floating useless in the black wind. And the sky has changed too. It's not just dark, it pulses. Sometimes at dusk, if you can call it dusk, you can see flickers of light but not lightning. It's red, like veins, like something enormous is waking up above the clouds. The children have stopped speaking entirely. They sit in circles in the yard, eyes wide, mouthing something you can't hear. And when you ask what they're doing, they don't even look at you. Not anymore. You dig your hands into the dirt, desperate, and it feels warm. Too warm, like breath. And when you pull them back, the dust clings in the shape of fingers, long, bony, not your own. You try not to scream. You try to hold on to your name, your past, your reason for being here. But memory doesn't hold in this place. The wind takes everything. Everything except your fear. The wind likes that. It feeds on it. And deep in your chest, a terrible truth starts to settle. The Dust Bowl was never about drought or farming or failed crops. That was just the surface story. What lives beneath is older than the plains, older than settlers, older than anything humans ever named. The dust doesn't forget. It doesn't forgive. And it has waited centuries for enough souls to gather. Now it's full, and it's awake. And as you lie down, lungs raw, heart slowing, and the ash begins to drift over your eyes like a shroud, you understand at last. You didn't survive the Dust Bowl. No one did. The dust only lets you think you did, right up until the moment it takes you back.